Hey everybody, welcome back. Let's get started officially. So what you're looking at is a list of the assignments for the course. If you have turned in assignment number 1 and assignment number 2, you have gotten grades for it so far. They were due back on July 25th. This weekend is 8/8. Isn't that like a lucky day? So today's your lucky day. We're actually going to do assignment number 3, and we're going to start out with this. We started it during the last weekend session. However, several people were missing, and when I started creating the tables last time, I created different tables. I didn't use the tables exactly the same way that they were in the assignment, and I think it made writing the queries a little bit more complicated. So what we're going to do is we're going to complete assignment number 3 today, and so you'll be uploading it. And then we'll be working on number 4 later in the afternoon. That one's not going to be due, obviously, until the following 8/22. So assignment number 3, 8/8 is today. And then you'll upload it into Canvas, and then you'll get credit for it. And then we have the 22nd, and then we have the 22nd here. Well, we'll see what that is. I'll take a look at that later. We'll move ahead past that, but for right now, we're going to focus on assignment number 3. So last time, we installed XAMPP, and we have that running, and hopefully you've got your servers running. So on here, if you do have your servers running, you have MySQL database running, and you also have the Apache web server. If you don't have this running, you want to get this running, and you want to open up and start up your XAMPP. And then you want to hit on where it says Go to Application, the one on the top here in the menu item here. And so you get to this screen here. We went through this last time, so hopefully everybody's up to speed on this. And what we're going to do then is go into phpmyadmin, which is on the left-hand side. Refresh your memory. I know it's been a couple weeks, but we're there. Got it highlighted. Go ahead and click on that. And we have this little mess over here that, I shouldn't call it a mess, but this is what we created last time. I'm going to create a new database object because several people were not here last time, or they came in late and they didn't really set anything up. So we want to make sure we get this all set up. So I'm going to click on the top where it says New on the left-hand side. So right here on the top, it says, it says New right up here. I'm going to click on New. And you see over here where it says Databases, it says Create Database. I'm going to put in here, I'm going to call this one assignment number 3. Assign 3. And you do not have to turn in the database, obviously, when you turn the assignment in. What we're going to do is write the queries in the Word file, and then you're going to upload the Word file as the assignment. What we're doing is going to write queries, but we want to see the queries work and the effect of the queries. Plus, we're also trying to get some more practice with MySQL. This is a database class, so we might as well do it. So type in the name of your database object in the window here, and then click on the Create button. If you click on the Create button, you see the database is created on the left-hand side. Oh, I have assignment number 3 already as well, looks like. I'm actually going to do myself a favor. I'm going to click on assignment number 3 here, and I'm actually going to delete it so I don't confuse myself. Or do I want to delete it? We'll leave it alone. But now, I guess because this one showed up on the top, it'll be okay. So I have this one up on the top. And so now I'm going to open up assignment number 3 and take a look. And we see that assignment number 3, there's 2 sets of tables. I'm just going to create the first one, which I think is what we did last time, actually. And the first one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tables. Now, we can do this with SQL, or we can do this using the GUI. I want to use the GUI first to show you what I'm talking about, and which is a review as well. So last time we did this, so let's review a little bit more. So the first one we want to do is we want to create the student table. Student table has a name, a student number, a class, and a major. So I'm going to go back to my XAMPP. And I'm going to call this one, and I'm going to capitalize. Or am I going to capitalize? I think we had a problem last time. I think I'm going to lowercase the name of the table. I capitalized the name of the object, and I think we had a database error when we capitalized the name of the table. So I'm starting to remember this last weekend we had. So I'm just going to use a lowercase s, and I'm going to call this one student. Oops. Of course, now student here. student. There we go. And what I did is I hopefully clicked on, let me cancel this actually. Let me get rid of this for a second here. I'm going to click on where it says assignment number 3, my database object. Make sure I'm in the right object when I'm creating this. And then I'm going to type in students. And then the number of columns. Well, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So I'm going to leave it on 4. And I'm going to press the go button over here on the right hand side. So this is where I can actually type in the names, and I'm going to use lowercase for everything because when I run the queries then I know everything's in lowercase and I remember exactly what I'm typing in. So let's see, we have name, student, number, and I'm going to use the identical words here, not like I did last time. So I'm going to put it like maybe over here, and we'll do this here. I can remember name and student number, so let's do that. Name, student number, and I'm going to change the data type. It's a number data type. I want to use a variable character or character actually, so I'm going to do variable character actually. And for the variable character, this is any variable length of characters is what that actually stands for. It's a data type for text or for strings. So I'm going to put like 20, which means my names can have 20 characters in them. And my student number I'm going to leave as an integer. And I'm not going to put a length on it. I'm going to leave it blank because it can be of any length. It doesn't really matter what length I'm going to make it. So we'll see what happens if I get an error when I start to work with this. But we have class and we have major. So I'm going to add those in there too. So I'm going to type in class. And I'm going to change this one to variable character. And maybe I'll just make this one 20 as well. And then major. I'm also going to make the major variable character. And major is going to be like C, CS, or maybe I'll make this one 20. I'm just going to make them all 20, so I don't have to worry about it. And then I'm going to go ahead and press save and see what happens. And when I press save, I have a student table now. And in my student table, I can see I have these columns set up. And the columns I have are class, major, name, and student number. This is what we did last time, but last time when we did this, we used different. I changed it, so that's why we're doing this again. Let's make sure that they're consistent with the assignment this time. So did we all get this far with the first student table? Remember, this is like the second time we're doing this, so hopefully we have gotten this far. If so, that means you remembered something from last weekend. So let's go ahead and build the other tables, unless someone wants me to stop for a second. Okay. We could use the query engine to do this. If we did that, we'd press on the SQL button, and then we would select one of these buttons if we wanted to. But let's not. Let's just build them manually, because I think the query part is something that students are getting lost on. So I'm going to go back to assignment number 3, and I'm going to go ahead and create another table. So this next one I'm going to create is going to be called course. Course has course name, course number, credit, hours, and department. So course. And I believe I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns as well. So I'm going to leave it on 4. And I'm going to press go. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to fill it in here. So we're filling it in with a course name, course number. So course name, course number. So course name, and this is going to be a variable character. I'm just going to put 20 in here again. Course number. Course number could be a number. So I'm going to leave it on integer. Credit hours, I believe. Credit hours and department. So credit hour. Credit hours. Is it hour or hours? It is hours, plural. Okay, so credit hours. And then department. And is department spelled out? Department is spelled out. Okay, good. Department I'm going to put on variable character because I think it's probably going to be like a department with characters. Course credit hours is probably going to be a number, so I'm going to leave it on integer. And course number, I think I'm going to make those integers as well. So we'll leave those on integers. And then go press save, and it's going to say that the localhost valid length. Oops, probably I didn't put a length in here, so I'm going to put length in here for the variable characters. Variable characters do require length. Integer values don't require length, so which is why I'm just putting them in for variable character. You could actually specify length, and if you did that, you would actually be limiting the data type. So we don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and press save now and see what happens. Now I have the course table. So I'm going to go ahead and build the other two. I think there's 2 more tables. No, there's 3 more tables. Prerequisite is going to be the next one. Prerequisites have course numbers and prerequisite number. Course number and prerequisite number. Only 2 this time. So I'm going to click back on my database object. And I'm going to type in prerequisite this time. And I'm going to change the 4 now to 2, because I only have 2 columns in this one. And press on go. And course number, prerequisite number. So course number, which is going to be an integer, and then prerequisite number. I'm going to also leave it as an integer, assuming that my course numbers are going to be integers. And I'm going to go press save. So I got course number, prerequisite number. And I'm going to click back again on assignment 3, my database object. And I'm going to put section as my next table. So you guys can go at your own pace. I'm going to build them, and then I'm going to pause for a few minutes and see, make sure everyone catches up at this point. So section ID, course number, semester, year, and instructor. So let's see, section. Clicking back on the database object, I'm going to type in section. And section has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 columns in it. So I'm going to change the 4 to a 5. And press go. And section, let's see, we've got section identifier, course number. Yikes. Section identifier, course number. Section identifier, course number, semester, year, and instructor. Semester, year, instructor. I can tell you instructor is probably going to be instructor name, so I'm going to change this one to variable character. I'll just put 20 in here again. The year could be a number. I think I'll leave it alone. 2000. It's going to be a number. Course number is going to be a number. And section identifier, we can make that a number as well. So I'm going to go ahead and press save on that one. So now I have the section in here as well. So I'm going to go back up to my database object. And I'm going to create yet another table. This one's going to be called grade report. And grade report's going to have a student number, a section number, and a grade. So it's going to be called grade underscore report. So grade underscore report. And it has 3 columns. I'm going to change this one to a 3. Yes? No, you don't need to create them. I'm only doing it so I can demonstrate how the queries work. Plus it gives you practice creating them. And once we have this created later on this afternoon, we're going to run some PHP scripts to connect to the database through a website. Yeah, and then we can actually do some really cool stuff. That's why you want to build these, actually, if you can build them. I'm going to pause when I get done, so give you some time to finish up building them, because I know I'm probably going faster than some people who are listening right now. Let me just finish my last table, though. Student number, section number, and grade is what I want. So says student number, section number, and grade. Grade is probably going to be a letter grade, so I'm going to put variable character in there, and I'm actually going to make it bigger than I need to. I'm going to put 20 in there. I'm going to leave the student number and the section number on integer, and I'm going to go ahead and press save. So now I have course, grade report, prerequisite, section, and students all created. And hopefully you have that created as well. So I'm going to pause momentarily here. Okay, so now the assumption is that you have your tables built. If you have your tables built, we're going to populate them. So let's load them up with some data. So we're going to need some data, actually, for these queries that we're going to run. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can sort of see this from a mile away. There we go. And probably not a mile away, but you can definitely see this going on here, hopefully. So we're going to have to retrieve the name of all senior students majoring. Okay, so this is going to be one of our majors is going to be COSC. So we're going to put majors in there. We're also going to look at Professor King, and we got some years for some courses he taught. So let's start with the student table. And that's probably a good bet that we're going to use the student table. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to click on the student table. And so a few minutes ago I told you we could do this using the GUI or we can do this using the SQL command. So I'm going to click on the SQL button for this one actually, because we have this nice little insert here. If I click on the little insert button here, I see a nice little template set up for me already. And the template says that I can insert into a name, a student number, a class, and a major. And so this I find easier. I find it easier to actually insert using the SQL query. If I didn't do it using the SQL query, I could click on the student table and go into the browse or go into the, well, browse would actually to work here. And I could actually open up the table and manually put the stuff in if I wanted to. Well, using insert, it's actually not browse, but I can browse the table to see what the columns are, see what the structure is, search through things, or insert. If I click on insert, I can manually put things in. And the way that I'm going to manually put them in is on the right-hand side over here where it says value. I'll put one in manually, and then I'll go back and I'll do it. I'll do it the other way. But this is like a one at a time kind of thing. If I do the other one, I can cut and paste, and I can put like 5 of them in there and do it all in one shot. So I'll show you, if you just put one of them in here, I create a student number. I'm going to make my student numbers kind of easy to remember. I'm just going to go 100. And the class is going to be a variable character. So I'll just put in here database. Oh no, classes. I'm sorry, sophomore, junior, senior. So I'll put in here senior. And then the major is at COSC, if I get this correct. Because we want senior students majoring in COSC. I'm kind of put the data in so the queries work right. So let's see. So if I press go, I have this guy inserted in. And the interesting thing is it takes me to the SQL window where it's like, okay, dummy, why don't you just put more of them in there, right? So if I want to do that, I could just go like this, copy this here. I shouldn't call myself dummy. I should be more positive here. Because really, this is telling me, why don't you just do it this way? Okay, edit, paste. So now I'm going to put in, let's see, I'm going to do another student 101, student ID, student number 101. He's a senior, and he's going to be in COS. And then I'm going to go edit, paste. Let's put in 201, I don't know, 200. I'll put 4 students in here. And then what I'm doing is I'm copying and pasting it. I'm just changing the student number. Edit, paste. You can put anything you want in here. I'm doing it so when we run the query, we actually get some interesting results that come back out of it. So these are all going to be the COSC students. And so I have 100, 101, 200, 201. I'm going to put some other majors in here too. just to be fair. So I'm going to paste it in here. I'm going to put in 300. Oh, bummer. Bummer. I can go back and change the names then. Because I didn't put not null. This is actually working. Interesting observation. You're correct. I did not put the name in there. So let me see. Let me add this guy. Let me just add another one in here. I'm going to put business, BUS, for student 300. And I'm going to put another one in here, actually. I'm just going to populate some stuff in here. 301. You're right. No student names. So it is like Saturday morning, so you do have to keep me on my game here. So I'm going to press go. And what do I have here? Oh, the name. The name's going to be an issue. Okay, so let's put the name in. Let's see. Bob. Larry, Curly, and Mo is going to be in here. Larry, Curly, Mo. I think Fred and Wilma Flintstone are going to be in here too. Fred, Wilma. There we go. Now it's a problem. Let's see. No, I still got another problem. Assignment 3 .student doesn't exist in the. What am I missing? Oh. Oh. I can barely see this actually. You're right. It's capital A. A-S-S. 3. You know what it is? My font's too small. There we go. Let's see. Okay, now I can read it. Yeah, it's for me. Oh, let's see if I have any better luck now. Oops. Okay, much better luck. Thank you. You know, it's because I was like typing over there, and then I put a capital instead of a lowercase instead of a capital. So now let's see if I go into students and I go and hit the browse button. The ones I put in here, what happened here? I have some in without names, and I have some duplicates in here. I can actually fix this real easily by running a query to delete from table where the student name is blank. So I'm going to fix my table running a query because I think the query is actually a little bit faster. And why I put it in here, I don't know actually. That's probably because it took the first couple of them. Yeah, and I didn't put not null in here. So if I had put not null, let me demonstrate something actually in a few minutes here. Delete from student where name is equal to nothing. So I'm going to fix my own problem here, and just so you guys can see it. I'm running this query. If you have the same problem I have, but you probably don't because you didn't do a typo like I did. I'm doing a delete from students where the name is equal to nothing, because what I have right now is a bunch of, let me just reiterate a point here, edit copy. In my student table, I've got a bunch of students with the names empty because I was really quick with this and I decided, oh, I'm going to go ahead and create some students, but I didn't put any names in there. In fact, when I went to the insert over here on the student, I left this name out here as well. I just put the student number in. And I was able to do this because on my table structure over here, I have something that says null. Ooh, wow. Let's see. Let's see what happens here. I'm supposed to have a null or a not null, and it's actually created to accept nulls, which means I can leave it out. So it's kind of a poor database design if you think about it. I'm going to leave it alone anyway, but it's kind of a poor database design because in the structure it says no, which is weird because it is empty actually. So I didn't mark it as a key though either. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to fix the structure first, and I'm going to show you something that's going to solve our problems going forward. So let's see. Let me get rid of this. Let me show you something. Let me clean up my table first. And I'm going to say go. So now if I look at my table, all those empties are gone because I deleted from students where the name was equal to a blank string, which I had before. Now if I want to, I can make sure that we have a value in by going not null on each one of those columns, so it can't be empty. But when I inserted it in, I made it empty. So empty is actually a valid thing. It's not null, it is empty. Because my table by default, when I looked at it, it says that no. There's a no on the null. So this is not null, but the problem is it's not unique. So if I have more than one blank, it should reject it. But if I'm putting a blank in there, it's technically not null, which is where that little fault in the behavior comes from. So instead, what I'm going to do here is say that, let's say, for example, name. If I click over into the more category, I can make the name unique. We can leave it alone. We don't have to, okay, we don't have to do it that way. But what about the student number? Maybe we should make those primary key. So today I'm also going to be talking about primary key and foreign keys. So if we look at this, for example, and if we say student number, right? If I mark this little thing, it says primary key. It says, do you want to execute the alter table student add primary key student number? If I want to make sure that all of my student numbers are unique and that the table is indexed on my student numbers as a primary key, I'm going to say okay with this one, and it's going to tell me that there's a duplicate entry for 100 for key primary, and so it's not going to work because I have two 100s. So let me go back and fix my table. So if I go back into the student table and I click on the, well, let's see what we got going on here. I'm sorry. I have 100, 101, 100. Oh, I have two of everything. Those are duplicates. You're correct. I have lots of duplicates in here because I put them in more than once. So because I basically didn't put any constraints on the table, and instead I just added some data to it. So I can fix this easily. Well, let me show you another command actually, because what I want to do is one more time. I want to do one more entry. I want to remove all the data from this table. I want to do this again. And I'm trying to demonstrate a point here. You want to put the constraints before you populate the table. So if you make a primary key, you make a unique key, you can't put data into the table that doesn't follow those rules. So rather than going after the fact and trying to make changes, so this is very too time consuming. I have to go through here, delete and change and alter all this stuff to change the data because the data is all wrong right now. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete from table. And I'm just going to put in, and let me show you something to demonstrate because we're also practicing and we're reviewing SQL commands. So remember before I deleted from the table where the name was blank and I removed all the blanks. Another interesting command you can do is just this here, delete from table student. If you do that, you're going to delete all the data in the table. So if I do that, my table is now empty. No more. I can get it back by doing a rollback. If you type, let's say I didn't want to delete everything. Then I would type in rollback. I don't know if this is actually going to work, but let's just see. Because that window does an auto commit. Let's see. Let's see if I roll it back. Is my table back? No, because it does an auto commit. I shut the window. If I had left the window open and I did an immediate rollback, it would have rolled it back. When I shut the window, it does what's called an auto commit. So commit makes the change permanent. Rollback is like undo. So just in case, because some people will do this, they'll just accidentally go like this and they'll go, okay, I think I got it. And they'll go, oh, what happened to all the data in my table? Unfortunately, because of the phpmyadmin, there are some automatic settings that are picked up. So I want to delete it all anyway. The other command you could possibly do is called truncate. Truncate is going to delete the data in the table and then delete the table too. We just want to delete the table data. We don't want to delete the table, so we're not doing a truncate. There's also a drop. A truncate doesn't save any rollback information. A drop saves rollback information. So if I drop the table, I don't necessarily want to rebuild it, but if I typed in drop table student, it'd get rid of it for me, and then I could roll it back. So we have a commit and we have a rollback that makes something permanent or undo something. Unfortunately, with this, I wouldn't count on it with this interface with my phpmyadmin because of the auto commit features of the GUI. You're gonna end up having to not be able to roll back. If you run, let's say, an Oracle system and you had the Oracle MySQL SQL Plus window open, or if you're on a terminal window and you're not constantly opening and closing the window like this, and it's not doing an auto commit, then the rollback and the commit are going to work for you just fine. So anyway, so let's see. Now I want to actually insert into this table some correct data. But before I do that, I want to change the data structure. So I'm going to go and hit on the structure. And I'm going to put some things on this. Now everything should work. So I'm going to make the student number here my primary key. So I'm going to click on primary, and now I'm going to add it. And now you're going to see it actually works. And I want to make my name unique, just because. I don't want people with different names. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the more, and I'm going to say unique. It says, do you want to execute alter table student add unique to name? I'm going to say yes, because I don't want more than one blank in there, and I don't know, maybe realistically I don't want to make it unique because people do have the same names, but let's just do that. So the difference between the unique and the primary key is that we can have, it's basically the same thing, but we can only have one primary key, which is why it's called primary. There's no such thing as a secondary key. There is a foreign key, but there's only one primary key. So if you want to make another column unique, so what's a primary key? A primary key is the index of the table. So behind the scenes, there's an automatic index that's being done on this table that's going to make it, it's going to make it query faster, because the query will be done on the index, and the index is done on the primary key. So if we're constantly querying on student numbers, the query is going to run much faster than it would if we were to query on another value, another column in this table. The thing with unique is that a primary key is unique, except for there's the index. If we want more things to be unique, which means you can't have duplicate values in the same table, then you just mark it unique. You can have as many uniques as you want. You can make the whole thing unique if you wanted to. So by making this a primary key, I have like this little yellow key that shows up over here, which means I can't put in more than one student number. So let me try an experiment to show you what this means. So if I go into the SQL window again, and I click on the little insert button, and I say, okay, so this time I'm actually going to fill in the values, right? So I'm going to say values, let's put in here, values are going to be Bob. Actually, do I need to put quotes around the Bob? Well, we'll see what happens actually in a few minutes. Bob, and his number is 100, and the class is senior. I'm going to put all of my data in lowercase, and the major is going to be COSC. And I'm going to see if those quotes are actually needed right now. And they are needed. It says that the student's unknown column Bob in the field list. Values, let's put the quotes in here. Bob, number, senior, COSC. And then I'm going to find out that I have another typo in here. Nope, I don't. Okay, good. So what I have then now is an entry here that has Bob. There's only one, which is why this looks different to me right now. I have Bob in here, the student number, and the senior. So I'm gonna go ahead and put some more in here. In fact, I'm actually gonna use the insert menu to to do this. So I'm going to put Larry, and he's going to be 101, and his class is going to be senior, and he's going to be COSC. And I'm going to take off this ignore. I'm actually going to put 2 of them in here. So let's see. So Mo, Larry, Curly, and Mo are going to be in here. He's going to be student number 200. And his class is going to be senior as well. And his major is going to be COSC. And so I'm going to go, oops, I don't know if that first one went in or not. So if I browse now, okay, so I got them both in here. I got Bob, Larry, and Mo in here. So let me tell you what happens with this primary key. If the primary key is the student number, I'm going to put in another person in here. I'm going to give them the same student number, and we're going to see how the data is not going to be put in there. Or I'm going to try it with, or I could try it with, I could try it with a name as well, because that's supposed to be unique. So I'm going to put one in here. This is going to be Fred. Fred's student ID. Let me make this one 300. I'm putting another unique one in here. He's going to be a junior, and he's also going to be COSC. So now Fred went in there just fine because he's unique. Now I'm going to edit copy. And I'm going to put this guy in twice. This is what I was doing before in that SQL window. Because what's going to end up happening is eventually you're going to put together a website, and in a website, people are going to hit the button multiple times. And then if you hit the button multiple times, what's going to end up happening is you're going to get multiple blank entries put into your database. We're going to do like a little guest book database this afternoon, and we'll kind of sort of see how that works. But if I put it in twice, actually it's already in there once, so I'm going to try it again. If I press the go button, immediately I see on the bottom here that there's duplicate cop entry of 300 for key primary. So if you notice this little error message on the bottom of my screen down here, it's not going to allow it because the duplicate entry, I have a duplicate entry 300 for key primary. So I'm going to fix that actually. I'm going to say, all right, you know what? Okay, let me try this now. 300 doesn't work, right? So now I have 300. I'm going to put 301, and I'm going to put 302 in here. And now it should be complaining about Fred, because now I don't have a problem with the primary key, but now I have 2 Freds in here. So down the bottom it's going to say duplicate entry Fred for key name. You can see on the bottom of the screen over here, now I got duplicate entry for Fred for the key name. So I have 2 constraints. These are called database constraints. I put 2 constraints on there. I have unique for the name, and I have the primary key. So I can't violate any of those constraints. So I'm like, okay, if I really want to put these guys in here, this one's going to be Wilma then. And then, did I put Curly in there? I think Curly got left out. So I'm going to put Curly in there. These guys should go in just fine, because now they have unique student IDs, and now they have unique names. So if I press go, now they're in there. So now when I look at the data that's in this database, it follows the rules correctly. I've got the proper rules set up. Let me show you another nifty little thing I did not show you last weekend. If I go into more, and let me find this one here, actually. Let me try this here, actually. Yes, let's click on the database object. Before I was clicked on a table, and I was seeing a different menu option than I was expecting. So if I click on the database object up here, that has my course, grade, report, prerequisites, section, and student, and I click over here on the more button, and I go down into this little thing that says designer, it looks like there's a mini little entity relationship diagram out there. If I click on designer, look at that. I see the relationships here, and I see the entities here. So remember all that entity relationship diagramming that we were doing? Here it is. Which is why we kind of looked at this first. So if I have this is assignment.section, and I have prerequisite, and I have grade report. I only have one table with one primary key in it right now. I could specify in another table a foreign key. I can connect the tables together in here by using the menu. So I can create foreign key and primary key using the menu. I'm not going to complicate things right now with doing this. We'll do it later. But if I key it all up, then I'm going to basically enforce referential integrity between the tables. As an example, if I have a student with a student ID and I have a registration, let me go back here. I'm actually going to click back now on the student table. And I have a, let's see, I have a section. Let's see what's in the section table here. Section's got a instructor year. Anywhere else, here, how about grade report? Let's see, grade report has a student ID, has a student number. That student number should be the foreign key for the student number that I have in the student table, which means I can't have a grade for a student who doesn't exist in the student table. So if I link up this as a foreign key for the primary key that is in the student table, then I have referential integrity between the tables. So I can't put a student, let's say for example, in the grade reports that's not in the student table. So I have to have a matching student number in the student table that matches a number that's in the grade report table. If you got that, you got primary versus foreign key as a concept. It's a foreign key because it matches a primary key in another table. So on the structure itself, in the designer, what I'm looking at then is the grade report table and the student table. Let me move these out of the way. And you see where this one's marked in here with this little like key, like this little key thing. And this one over here is really the student number, but it has a number on it. It has a number sign. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's tied together. We could tie it together by clicking and dragging to create the relationship. And if we did that, let me find out where it is actually. Create relation. So there's a little button over here that says create relation. On what I'm looking at is in the, over here on the left hand side, these buttons are so small, it's just ridiculous. This is, I'm hovering my mouse over the second button. Well, it's actually the first button. The first button and the second button are going to show me everything, and then these ones down beneath are going to show me subsections. So if you put your mouse over here, sort of see how this menu on the side works. Not the best interface in my opinion, because you'd think that the buttons would be showing up. Like if I went over here and I clicked over here, you'd think I'd just get this one. But I'm getting, as soon as I move my mouse over there, I'm getting all of the things expanded out to see what they are. So what I really want to do is just put your mouse over there and come down to this thing that says create relation. If I say create relation and I clicked on it, then I see this is now green. So if I click on name, oops, excuse me, student number over here, and I click on student number over here, I drag it, nope, my mouse is not going to cooperate. Okay, hold on one second. Let's go create relation. Select referenced key. This one. Oops. Please select the primary key or unique key. I did. There we go. Select foreign key. Section number, no, student number. Probably because I'm clicking on student number instead of, excuse me, I was clicking on section number instead of student number. There we go. Create relation. Okay. Missing index on columns. Yes, that's because I didn't specify anything in this here. So I'm not there yet because I've only set one column right now, and it's my primary key in my student table. Eventually what I would be doing, and I'm kind of moving ahead here just to show you the bigger picture before we do this stuff on the rest of the tables here. On the create relation, just to do it one more time, if I selected the reference key, which is the student number, and then I select the, and if you see when I click on it, it's hard to see it, but there's like a little message box that pops up here in green. If I click the foreign key, well, this isn't really a key. I'm selecting on it, but student number isn't really a unique key at all. So I'm getting this missing index on columns. Well, there's no index over here. I only created the index over here. So if I go back, and I'm now going into grade reports, and I need the grade report, there's going to be a student number on that. If I index the column on student number, I'm going to make that into a primary key for the table. Primary key creates an index on the table so that the entire table is indexed on the values of the primary key. One of the reasons why you're making a primary, well, there's two reasons why you're making a primary key. Number one, so you can enforce referential integrity. So you can link up the data between the tables and have matching entries, which is what referential integrity is referring to. The other reason why you're doing it is because you're going to index the table automatically. It gets indexed on either a unique or a primary. By default, it's the primary. I have it over here in student, but I didn't do anything in grade report. I didn't change. I only changed to one key right now. In grade report, I have to index it either by unique or by primary key. Yeah, so let's just do that. If we just go into grade report, and we're going to fix the problem. I go in. Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to tell her. We're going to do it right now. If you go into grade report, you either make it a primary or a unique, either one of them, then you can actually link the two of them. Because the primary key will make an index on the table, and the table has to be indexed for the referential integrity to actually work. Because if you have one table that has an index, and the other table does not have an index, you can't link the indexes up. And what it's doing is it's indexing the data that's in the table on this key value, and the key value is unique. So if you did a unique without a primary key, it would actually do the same thing, but you want the primary key by default because other databases, other systems won't let you use both. You have one or the other, so it's a little bit more standard to primary key it. Yeah, so every table, so we built the tables. So now what we're doing is we're building the indexes on the tables. And the indexes are going to make the queries run faster, but it also makes the referential integrity possible. So we can link what we're doing essentially is taking all the data in the system, spreading it out into multiple tables, and then putting it all back together. And we put it back together with the indexes. So it's almost as if all the table data is together. It's just searchable through different keys. And the keys are what's linking the tables together. Hold it. Digest it. Let's go to the structure here of grade report. And on grade report where it says student number, I'm going to make mine. Did you make yours a unique or primary?
Primary.
Yeah, okay. And you did it on the student number? Yeah. So if you click on primary on here, we don't have any data in, I don't believe we have any data in this one yet. No, we only have data in one table, student table. So what I did now is I took student number and I clicked on the primary key. So now I'm going to go back. I have to switch. I have to actually click back on the database object. Go back into that designer again and try that operation all over again. Let me move this out of the way. Here I have students. Student and grade report, and these are the two tables I'm trying to link up. And see, I have a student number now has like a little key next to it, and then I have name that has this is unique, and then student number. So I want to take these two student numbers and I want to link them together so that I can't put a grade report entry in unless our student number actually exists. We'll see how that works in a few minutes, but so let's see. Create relation. Now it says a select referenced key. Well, that's going to be student number. Select foreign key. Well, that's going to be student number. So it says, well, what do you want to do on this? If it's a primary key and not a unique key, you get this menu. If it's unique, you're not supposed to get this menu because it's not really a primary key. So this says a primary key says that it does more than just the index. It says that if I have a student in the system and I have a grade report, if I delete the student from the student table, should I also delete them from the grade reports, which is our cascade on delete or on update. So we have this thing here that says create relation foreign key, which is what I'm creating. I'm creating a foreign key in the grade report because I'm using a primary key in the student table. So on a delete, what I'd like to do? Would I like to cascade it? Which means if I delete something at a student, should I delete it at a grade report at the same time? Because these two keys are linked up, it's the person over here and the person the index practically puts the two tables together. Not theoretically, but visually, if you can imagine, the two tables are now one because they're linked together on this primary key and this foreign key. So that's the chain that's holding them together. Well, if I delete it out of one, I'm going to have a missing entry at the next one. Should I delete them out of both? Should I cascade? Which is what cascading means. It means if I delete out of one table, I'm going to also delete out of the other table. Or the other option is, should I set it to null? So now the student number is null. Because how could you have somebody in the grade report who's not in the student table? They're not a student. It's like if you took this class and you got a grade in this class, then your grade is going to be reflected with your student number, right? Well, what if we delete you out of the system? We delete you completely. Why do we have grades for you in the system? Technically, I think I want to cascade it, actually. If I were going to do this, I'm going to put cascade on this. But if I'm in the foreign key table, the grade report, sure, I can take your grade out of the system, but it doesn't remove you out of the system. So the foreign key to the primary doesn't really matter as much as the primary to the foreign. If you delete the primary key and you have foreign references all over the place, wow, you're going to be in trouble because that student ID is not going to exist anymore. You're going to have bogus information in all your other tables. So anyway, we could restrict it. If we restrict it, it says don't allow it. Maybe we should restrict it. So I can't delete students who have grades. That's probably better. These are business rules, actually, if you think about it. If this was the university and you're no longer a student, does it mean we lose your transcript? Hopefully, we're going to have a record of you. Even though you're not a current student, after you graduate, we're going to keep your grades in the grades table. So maybe that's a better one. I'm going to restrict it then. If I restrict it, it means I can't delete you. And then on an update, this is mean on a change. On an update, I'm going to cascade it. If I change your student number in your student table, shouldn't it change your student number in your grades table, is what that's saying. It should. Yeah, I mean, it should. So cascade means cascade the change to all the other tables that are being used as a foreign key that reference that one primary key. So we only have you in the system one time. We change your address, it gets changed everywhere. Or your telephone number or your student ID. So I'm gonna put cascade on here. Where it says no action, it means don't change anything. It's kind of dangerous because then you ruin your referential integrity. Or restrict means don't let it happen, set it to null. So the most popular ones I want to say are the first two, cascade it or set it to null. All the foreign keys change to match the primary key when the primary key changes. And this is on an update. On an update is when you're performing a change to the database. On a delete, you're just removing the entry completely. So if we're going to delete you, I'm not going to allow you to be deleted, which is what the restriction is going to say. So, and on an update, where we're going to cascade it, if I press OK, then I have this nice little green line that shows between the two tables. We can try it out. Let's do it. If I update it, it's going to cascade the update. So if I put a grade in for Larry, Curly, or Mo, and then I change Larry, Curly, or Mo's student ID, it should change it in the grade table too. So let's do it. Primary key will change in the primary table where the key is listed, and then the change on an update will cascade, which means any table that's using that primary key is going to change as well. Oh, you can change your foreign key. A foreign key just matches a primary key. Can never change a foreign key. A foreign key is a reference to a primary key. It has to match. You cannot change a foreign key. That's the referential integrity. The integrity says you can't change it. You can never do anything to a foreign key. You could change a primary, but you can't change a foreign. And if you change your primary, you got options. You can set the foreign to null. You can cascade it. Or you can also change it through the cascade. Or you can restrict it. Don't allow the primary key to change. Those were those options. The options were on the foreign key to change the behavior of what happens when you reference they were on the primary key to change the behavior of what happens when you reference it with the foreign key. So the referential, if you want to remember, it's a reference. So you're enforcing the integrity of the reference between the primary and the foreign key. Yeah. Yeah. It has to match a primary key. Let's do it. Let's add somebody into, because we created this now. We can sort of see how this works. So we're going to leave the rest of this alone for right now. Use this as a learning example here. But let's play around with the grade report and the student. So we don't have anything in the grade report table yet. Student is pretty good. I think we have our referential integrity set up. So let's go back to grade report. And let's just put some bogus information in there. So I'm going to go insert. And now what am I going to insert in here? I'm going to put in here a student number. Look at this. I have some student numbers to choose from. Why? Because the student number is a foreign key that references. So where are these numbers coming from? They're coming from the table students that has the primary key in there. So I can put somebody in here. Actually, I have to remember who are these people. So I'm going to go back to students. Bob. Bob is student number 100. And he's a senior, and he's a COSE. So I'm going to go back to the grade reports, and I'm going to go into inserts. And I'm going to select student number 100. Well, that's Bob. And his student section number, this is the tricky part. Because if we do section number to course, which is what we're going to do, I'm going to remove the data from this table in a few minutes after I put data in, because I don't have, if I make section number a primary or a unique key, and I link it to a course table that has section number, or I don't know, maybe the course table's not going to have that, course number will. Bottom line, if I go ahead and put data in here, and then I start making referential integrity, if the data doesn't match, the key won't go in correctly. It's going to give me an error, which is why I'm trying to stress a point here. Before you put any data in, make sure you got the structure set correctly. Because we're just going to arbitrarily just put some data in here. How do we know that data is going to match the rules that we're going to enforce in the near future? We don't know that. So it's always better to build the empty tables, put the rules on the tables, and then populate it with the data. Because then you get better quality data that goes into it. Anyway, but I just want to demonstrate a point here. So I'm going to put a section number 1, and I'm going to give this guy an A. And I see it goes in correctly, right? So now if I try to put a section number in, I'm going to do it this way now, because I want to put a section number in that's not in the list, because I want to produce an error. Actually, I can just change this. Section number 100, student, excuse me, I want to put a student number in, not a section number. So I'm going to put 999. I know I don't have any students with that student ID. And just to make sure, I'm going to change the section number and all the rest of the data so we know that problem's not happening with the other data. Now if I do this, I'm going to get this thing down here at the bottom. It's going to tell me that you cannot add or update child row. And why is that? You're wondering to yourself. You cannot add, I'm reading this little message I get on the bottom here. A foreign key constraint fails. Oh, okay. And the foreign key constraint says that the foreign key student number refers to student from the student table. And on the update, it cascades. But we're not updating it in the student table. We're putting it into the grade table, grade report. So we can't let this happen. So this is our referential integrity that's being enforced that says that this foreign key, well, it matches. So if that's the case, then I got to go change this to somebody that does match. I think I have a 101 in there. I'm pretty sure I have a 101. Let me make this a little smaller so I can see it. And that one goes in there just fine. So now in my grade report table, I should have 2 people, 2 grades. I've got 100 that took section number 1 and got a 1. And then I got student number 101 that's in section number 2 and got a B. We good with primary versus foreign key and why we're doing this? Which also kind of makes it more automated. I mean, if I go back in here and I go back into insert, and then it's nice to have like a little drop-down menu as well. So I know that, I can put another one in here. This is going to be section 1. Section number and grade. I don't know. Let's get this guy a C. As long as it's, in fact, I can do like the same student multiple times. So I can say, like, for example, what did I just do? I think I just did, let's do 100 again. I know I've done 100 before. And he's in section 3 of something. I don't know. And he got an A as well. And it's going to tell me that, oh, look, there's an error here. Because, why is there an error? Duplicate entry for 100 for primary key. Aha. So I put a primary key instead of a unique key on the student number, which means in this reality of all things said here, if I had made another primary key and then I had another unique key or did not use a unique key for the student number, I wouldn't have this situation. So by making it unique or making it primary, it means I can't have more than one 100 student in this table. The design is sort of flawed with what we did with this. Because if this is truly a grade report, I probably should have indexed the class and not the student number. Because what I did with the student numbers, I made it so only 100 shows them one time. 100. However, this could be the grade report, let's say, for the class. It's a grade report. It doesn't have to be a transcript. I can make another table. I'm not going to do this, but if I wanted to fix this design, if I'm assuming that 100 can take more than one class, I'm going to have a global transcript grade report that's not going to be indexed on the student numbers. Instead, it's going to be indexed on the class. So the class goes to the class. There's an assumption here. It's for one single class. In one single class, you only have one student in one single class, and they're only going to get one grade. Which means if I'm going to put this guy in twice, he's going to get 2 grades for the same class. Why would you get 2 grades for this one class? So the idea is this is for per class grade. Does that make any sense? I know, it's too early in the morning. Maybe not. Maybe that does make sense. Anyway. So assuming that this is a grade report for an individual course that you're taking and not for your entire transcript of all the classes that you're taking, this integrity actually works quite well because you're only going to get 1 grade. So if I made another table, and then what I wanted to do is kind of stick to assignment number 3 because we are actually doing assignment number 3. So if I wanted to make the table a little bit more elaborate, I could add a global transcript or something table. That's what I was trying to say. All right. So let's take a look at our other tables. We have a course, and in the course of the course, I have a course number, I have a course name, I have a credit hour, and I have a department. Let's see. In prerequisites, I've got a course number. Course number, and I have a prerequisite number. I'm not going to do this, but I could make sure that both of these 2 items were referenced. And this would be a recursive reference, actually. A course to a course. Course number to a course number. Meaning that the course number has to match another course number. So, for example, and that the course number would actually have to be in the course table. For example, in this class, if we had a prerequisite, and it was the class I'm teaching tomorrow, Programming Language Paradigms, and that one was MC, SC, whatever, 1002. And this class is, I don't know what number this is, let's call this 3000. They would both have to be courses that were listed in the course table, and they could both be referenced as foreign keys in the prerequisite table. So you can't put a prerequisite course in for a course that's not a course. So they're both courses, but one of them is a prerequisite to the other one. They call it a recursive reference. It's a reference to another reference, and they both have to be references. So they both have to be foreign keys to a course in the course table. I'm not going to stick this in here, but do you see how that logic would enforce it so that I can't make a reference as a prerequisite class to a class that doesn't exist in the system? Because otherwise, how would you take the class? So again, it's another business rule that would be enforced through the referential integrity that would be put into the database. Let's not go that far, because this is not supposed to be that complicated. So we won't go that far, but we could make two references to the same. If we wanted to your course number, in the course table, we have a course number. So if I click on the course, now I'm clicking on course, and I look at the structure here, and I say course number. And if I make the course number a primary key, which is what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to click on the primary key, and it says, do you really want to create alter table, course, add primary key course number? I'm going to say yes. So now I have course number over here. Now then I'm going to go back into the prerequisite, and I'm only going to make one of them here. I'm just going to go to the structure. I'm going to say course number. Okay, let's make that one primary key. Each course number. And if I do this, it means that for the prerequisite list, one class can only have one prerequisite, because it can only show up once. Huh? We can. Do you guys need? Let me just finish one thought, and then we'll take a quick break, and then I can start fresh in a second here. Now that I've done the course number with the course, and what I'm looking at is the course in the prerequisite table, I'm going to go back to the designer again, and I'm going to see what I can do out here. So now I have a prerequisite down here, and I have course right here. And now I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to say create relation. Click on that one. And then it says select the referenced key. Well, that's going to be the course number. And select the primary key. Well, that's going to be the course number. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to delete. Let's cascade it. No, it's not cascade it. Let's just restrict it, delete. And then on the updates, I'm going to cascade it. Let's do it that way. Then I'm going to press OK. And then now I have another line that's created. Oops. So these guys are over here, and these guys are over here. Unfortunately, I know I can save the view. I'm just too lazy to save the view. Instead, I'll just move the stuff around. So now you see I have two different keys. Now I can actually key them this way if I wanted to as well. I can key them as many ways as I want, actually, as long as I'm keying foreign to primary and I'm creating it. Then I can sort of do that. Excuse me? Restrict means don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. Deny it. No action. No action. Well, restrict, well, technically it does mean no action. You're right. But restrict is basically going to say, you know, no choice. Which means you're going to get, bottom line, you're going to get an SQL error instead of the operation actually working. So, don't allow it. You can't delete it, yeah. You try to delete it, you run an SQL command, or you do something to delete something, it'll say, no, sorry, can't do it. If you have it on a delete, you set the foreign constraint on the delete, and you say restrict, you cannot delete the primary key. You'll never be able to delete it until you remove the restriction. You're making it so the data cannot be removed from the database. That's a good thing to do, especially if you're a student at a university and you don't want the university to ever lose track of who you are, because further down the road you might want a transcript. You put a rule in the database, it's a business rule, essentially. And so whatever application actually works with this database, and that's where we're going to next, actually, by the end of today. Hopefully we'll be looking at interfaces to the database. And if that's the case, if we put it in the database and the database is like self-preserving and it's sustainable on its own, it doesn't matter what people do from an application level. It's not going to change the data in the database. You can't delete out of that database if you put a restriction on there like that. So, there was a request to take a break, so let's take a break. And we'll finish this in a few minutes, and I'm going to stop this video and start fresh because people watching this are going to go, oh, I need a break. So here's your break. So let's stop this.